My grandmother was dying, and her only wish was to see me get married. I begged my girlfriend to play along, just for a little while. But she was busy celebrating her stepbrother's birthday and shut me down cold. A week later, I posted a picture of a marriage certificate on my Instagram. Congratulations poured in from friends, everyone asking when the reception was. That's when she finally called, her voice a whip crack of anger after months of the cold shoulder. Have you no shame? What's the point of forcing my hand like this? I just laughed. The wedding was real, but who said it was with her? The doctor said Grandma only had a few days left. Someone needs to be by her bedside at all times, he'd said, his voice gentle. At this stage, she could. He didn't need to finish the sentence. We all understood. Grandma, I whispered, my hand clutching her dry, paper-thin one, try to draw some warmth from it. She smiled, her eyes crinkling with a familiar kindness, and tried to comfort me. It's all right, honey. People get old. They die. It's something we all have to accept. I've lived a long life. My children and grandchildren have been so good to me. I'm content. I buried my face in the sheets next to her, tears streaming down my cheeks. I couldn't bear the thought of losing her, this woman who had been a constant source of love and warmth in my life. Leo, she said, her tone cautious. How are things with you, Anne? Your young lady? I remember the last time she'd brought it up, suggesting I bring my girlfriend, Chloe, home to meet her. When I'd mentioned it to Chloe, her response was a curt, I'm busy. Later, when Grandma asked again, a surge of frustration had made me snap. She's a busy person, okay? When would she have time to come visit us? Grandma had looked startled for a moment, then smiled gently. What's wrong? Did you two have a fight? Seeing the concern in her eyes, a wave of regret washed over me. Why did I always take out my frustrations on the people who love me most? I immediately apologized. Grandma, of course, wasn't one to hold a grudge, but she never mentioned meeting my girlfriend again. Now, looking at her lying in that hospital bed, her expression a mask of nonchalance, I was filled with nothing but guilt. Seeing my silence, she quickly added, I was just asking, Leo. I'm not trying to meddle. As long as you two are happy, that's all that matters. She tried so hard to act like it didn't bother her, but I knew better. I knew she cared. Deeply. Grandma was a traditional woman from a small Midwestern town. She had a high school education and had lived in the same county her whole life. In her world, the best thing a man could do was find a good partner, get married, have kids, and build a happy home. I'd shown her countless modern TV shows and tried to explain that times had changed, that people wanted different things now. I have a degree from a great school and a good job. I'd tell her, I can support myself. I have options. She would just beam at me. Of course you do. Just like my Leo. Went to top university, got a great job. You're a wonder. To my grandma, I could do no wrong. In her eyes, the sun rose and set with me. But she'd always follow it up with, that's wonderful. You're so brilliant. You'll find someone just as brilliant to share your life with. When two amazing people get together, you know they'll have a good life. I just smile resigned. That was my grandma. Some of her old-fashioned beliefs were etched in stone, unshakable. And the deepest of them all was that a man, when he came of age, was meant to get married. The moment I graduated from college, Grandma started worrying about my love life. She was constantly trying to set me up with daughters of her friend from church. When I finally told her I had a girlfriend, she was overjoyed. I knew she was desperate to meet her, but after that one time I snapped, she never brought up again. As the years passed, and my parents started dropping hints about settling down, my traditional grandma remained silent. I knew it wasn't because she didn't care. On the contrary, she cared more than anyone. But she didn't want to pressure me, to make me feel cornered. She had always been my biggest protector. She couldn't bear to see me struggle with anything. She'd rather bottle up her own wishes. Just like now, lying in a hospital bed, her life on a final countdown, she kept repeating that she had no regrets, that she could leave this world with a smile. But the flicker of longing in her eyes betrayed her. How could she not have regrets when she hadn't seen me married? I remembered her saying years ago, I'm not greedy. If I could just see my Leo get married, I could die the next minute perfectly content. She hadn't said anything like that in years. Not because she didn't feel it, but because she didn't want to add to my burdens. How could I not be heartbroken for a grandmother like that? How could I let her leave with that one lingering regret? As I watched her drift into a peaceful sleep, I made a silent, resolute decision. That evening, my mom arrived with a thermos of homemade soup. After I helped Grandma with her dinner, Mom told me to go home, eat a real meal, and take a shower. Get a good night's sleep at home, she said gently. You haven't been resting. The dark circles under your eyes are terrible. She assured me my dad would take the night shift and call if anything changed. Outside the hospital, I called Chloe. No answer. I called her assistant, who told me she'd left the office hours ago. I opened Instagram. The first post in my feed was from Ryan. A new photo, just uploaded. The caption read, "Another year, and you're right here by my side." The best. Of course. It was Ryan's birthday. I zoomed in on the picture Ryan had posted. A decadent cake, flowers, and a cascade of balloons. In the corner of the background, I recognized the discreet logo of a private club on the Gold Coast. Chloe's favorite spot. Driving there, my mind was a maelstrom of conflicting thoughts. I had no idea how this would play out, but I had to try. The moment I stepped into the club, I could hear my own heart hammering against my ribs. Nerves, uncertainty, a deep-seated dread. I found a private room she always booked and knocked. A voice called out, "Come in." I pushed the door open. A long table, adorned with flowers, was surrounded by a crowd of people gathered around Ryan, who was about to cut his cake. He was dressed in a crisp, white designer suit, his tall frame a beacon in the room. At the sound of the door, heads turned. The woman standing beside Ryan, her arm draped casually around his waist, immediately dropped her smile. Her brow furrowed in annoyance. It was Chloe. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with ice. Ryan gently patted her arm, a mock reprimand. "Chloe, be nice. How can you talk to Leo like that?" He turned to me, a practiced, charming smile on his face. "My fault, man. I should have invited you. Chloe mentioned you were taking some time off for a family emergency, so I figured you were swamped." He led me over to Chloe's side. "Be sweeter to your boyfriend," he chided her lightly. "You're going to scare him off with that attitude." Chloe didn't look at me. She said nothing. I took a deep breath, my eyes fixed on her. "Can we talk outside for a second? I need to ask you something." "Whatever it is, you can say it here," she said, her expression flat. "Everyone here is a friend." My presence had clearly ruined her mood. Her unwelcoming vibe was a physical force in the room. The people around us, all Chloe's friends, tried to look away, but I could feel their hungry, gossiping eyes on me. I didn't have time for their judgment. I dug my fingernails into my palm, steeling myself. "Chloe," I said, my voice clearer than I expected. "Marry me." Chloe stared at me for a few seconds, as if she couldn't process what she'd just heard. Then, the realization hit. "What did you just say?" I said, "Let's get married." Saying it a second time felt easier, the words solidifying in the air. "Leo, it's not April Fool's Day," Chloe said coldly, her eyes filled with disapproval. Ryan stepped in, trying to smooth things over. "Hey, Leo, have you been drinking?" "I'm perfectly sober," I said, my gaze locked on Chloe. "I'm asking you if you will marry me. Tomorrow." My stare was unwavering, making it clear this wasn't a joke. Ryan's smile vanished. His tone turned sharp. "Leo, it's my birthday. Whatever drama you and Chloe have, please take it somewhere else. I only get one birthday a year, and I don't want it ruined." Whispers erupted from the crowd around us. "Oh my God, proposing to Chloe? Does he have a death wish? Seriously, he needs a reality check. Just because they're dating, he thinks he's going to marry into the Sterling family? Please. Chloe's just having fun with him. He's clearly gotten delusional. The nerve of some people. Doesn't he know his place? I heard his dad owns a small security installation business. Does he have any idea what it means to be the daughter of one of the richest men in the city?" Their eyes were filled with scorn and derision. I was used to it. I stopped caring a long time ago. Ryan's displeasure was a direct command to Chloe. She didn't hold back. "What is wrong with you? If you're going to have a meltdown, get the hell out of here." A sharp pain lanced through my chest. I fought back the wave of humiliation and explained, "I didn't want to ruin Ryan's party. I asked to talk outside. You're the one who insisted I stay. If this ridiculous stunt is what you want to talk about, then the answer is no. You can leave now." My fingers were clenched so tightly my nails had broken the skin in my palm. I had to try one more time. "Chloe, I'm not trying to pressure you. My grandma, she only has a few days left. I just don't want her to die with regrets. I want her to see me get married before she goes." Chloe looked at me like I was a pathetic joke. Her voice dripped with contempt. "Are you even listening to yourself?" She didn't believe me, and neither did anyone else. Using a dying relative to force a proposal? That's a new low. Seriously, does he think we're all idiots? If that line worked, Chloe would have been married a dozen times by now. My voice cracked with desperation. "Chloe, I'm not lying. You can check for yourself. My grandma is at." "Enough." Chloe cut me off, her patience gone. "I don't have time to watch you act." Her tone was severe, a final warning. "I told you, I don't believe in marriage. You said you were okay with that. Are you trying to go back on your word now? So you won't marry me. Is that your final answer?" I asked. "No," she said, her voice absolute. "Okay," I whispered. "I understand." I turned and walked away. Leaving the club, I walked numbly along the sidewalk. The world around me seemed to fade to gray, a blurry backdrop to the chilling void in my chest. I had lost all feeling except for the slow, creeping cold of a dying heart. My phone rang. I answered it mechanically. Chloe's voice, as imperious as ever, came through the speaker. Leo, I know you're just jealous of Ryan. That's why you pulled that ridiculous stunt tonight. But Ryan is a forgiving person. He said he won't hold it against you if you come back now and apologize to him. I hung up. A cold drop hit my face. I looked up. It had started to rain. As if my legs had lost all their strength, I sank to the pavement, letting the rain soak through my clothes. Suddenly, the rain above me seemed to stop. I tilted my head back and saw a black umbrella. My eyes traced the line from the hand holding it, up the arm, to the shoulder, and finally to the face. It was a beautiful face. Thanks, I mumbled, sniffing. Don't worry about me. You should go. But the person just smiled, a soft, gentle expression that was like a ripple on a calm lake. It was stunningly familiar. I finally get to see little Leo Morgan cry. That voice. I frowned, studying his face again. Combined with the long, elegant features, it sparked something deep in my memory. A few seconds later, a flood of distant memories washed over me. I gasped, "You're Jet." She let out a soft laugh. "You haven't forgotten me, Leo. I'm so glad." Ava Chun, my childhood best friend. Reunited after all these years, I forgot all my troubles in an instant, wanting nothing more than to catch up. "Come on," I said, wiping the rain from my face. "I'm buying you dinner. It's been way too long." When I was a kid, my parents were always swamped with their business and didn't have time to look after me, so they sent me to live with my grandma in her small town. I met Ava in elementary school there. We were desk mates in the first grade. During class, I'd often hear her stomach rumbling, but she always had this little frown on her face, a wall around her that made her seem unapproachable, so I never dared to ask why she was always hungry. I asked my grandma about it later. She told me Ava's father had passed away, and her mother had run off with another man. She's a poor, unfortunate child, Grandma sighed. She gets passed around between relatives, always having to watch her words, never getting enough to eat. She pressed a few extra dollars into my hand. "From now on, you pack a little extra in your lunch and share it with her." At first, I just offer her my snacks, pretzels, fruit snacks, chips, saying I was too full and needed help finishing them. She'd just scowl and refuse. Then one day, I theatrically threw 2 perfectly good dinner rolls into the trash can right in front of her. She lunged for the bin like a woman possessed, pulling the rolls out. She turned on me, her eyes blazing with righteous fury. "How could you waste food?" she accused, as if I'd committed a mortal sin. I shrugged. "I can't eat it all. It'll just go bad if I leave it." She bit her lip. "Are you sure you can't eat it?" "Positive," I said. "Look, my grandma packs me this huge lunch every day. I'm not a pig. There's no way I can finish it all." "So, you weren't offering me food before because you pitied me?" "Of course not," I declared, my voice full of conviction. "Okay," she said, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "Then from now on, you can give me what you can't finish." She looked at me sternly. "Food is precious. You can't waste it." "Deal." I grinned, secretly thrilled that my little ploy had worked. From that day on, I became Ava's official food supplier. We became inseparable, telling each other everything. Her name, Ava, and her incredible talent for folding paper airplanes of every shape and size earned her the nickname Jet. And after she heard my grandma call me by my first name, she started calling me Leo. She told me about her aunt, whose yelling sounded like a screeching harpy, and her uncle, who was too fat to ever catch her when he tried to chase her for some mischief. I told her about my parents, who were always too busy, our phone calls never lasting more than 5 minutes. She was brilliant, aced every test. My math skills were abysmal, but she would patiently explain problems to me until the concepts finally clicked. With her help, my math grade shot up, pulling my overall average into the top 3 in our grade. To be precise, I hovered between second and third. First place was always, unequivocally, hers. At the end of 6th grade, my parents told me they were bringing me back to the city for middle school. I cried for days at the thought of leaving her. More than that, I worried. Without me to feed her, what would happen to Ava? Soon, however, my worries were put to rest. Ava's uncle came back. Her biological uncle, her father's younger brother. He'd gone off to make his fortune in Hong Kong years ago and had lost contact. The family thought he was dead, but he'd survived a terrible accident, and in the process had saved an important person who took him under his wing. The accident had left him unable to have children of his own. When he returned and saw Ava's situation, his heart broke. He decided to take her with him and raise her as his own daughter. I was finally able to relax. Ava wouldn't have to go hungry anymore. After elementary school, I moved to the city with my parents. She went to Hong Kong with her uncle. We never saw each other again. Until tonight. Despite the years apart, We quickly fell back into the easy, familiar rhythm of our childhood friendship. Before we were even halfway through dinner, we were talking a mile a minute. Ava told me about her life. She had lived with her uncle in Hong Kong, who treated her like gold and sent her to the best schools. She'd always done well academically and ended up in an Ivy League university in the U.S., studying computer science. When she mentioned the name of her university, my jaw dropped. You're being way too modest. That's not doing well. That's being a certified genius. So what are you doing now? I asked. I started my own company, she said simply. A small startup in the AI space. She gave me a brief overview, then turned the question back to me. What about you? I sighed. A complete mess. Failed relationship. Just texted in my breakup notice. As for my job, I'm handing in my resignation tomorrow. That's not a failure, Ava said with a smile. You're still young. You can start over with anything. I nodded. Yeah, I guess you're right. How's your grandma? She asked. The thought of my grandma in the hospital brought the weight crashing back down on my chest. I fell silent for a moment. She's not going to make it, I said, my voice thick with emotion. It's just a matter of days. Don't be too sad. She comforted me. Your grandma loves you more than anything. She wouldn't want to see you hurting. She paused. Can I go visit her tomorrow? I nodded. An idea, wild and desperate, sparked in my mind. I looked up at her, my gaze intense. Are you married? Do you have a boyfriend? She shook her head. No marriage, no boyfriend. Then, will you marry me? The words tumbled out, driven by desperation. The moment I said it, I was stunned at my own audacity. To my utter shock, Ava said, okay. I was sure she hadn't heard me right, so I repeated myself. She just smiled. Okay, no problem. I quickly explained the whole situation, that it was just to give my grandma peace, to untie that final knot of worry in her heart. You don't have to do this just because of our childhood friendship, I said. You shouldn't feel pressured to say yes. I know this is just a formality, but it still means changing your legal status from single to married. It's a big deal. If you're not comfortable, just tell me. I'm not uncomfortable at all, Ava said, her tone serious. I'm doing this willingly. After all, if it weren't for the food your grandma gave me when we were kids, I might have starved to death. But think of it as me repaying a debt, she insisted. Let me do this. It's a weight on my heart too, an unpaid kindness. After a moment's thought, I nodded. Okay, we can get a divorce whenever you want. The moment you say the word. So, when do we get the license? She asked. A wedding ceremony is out of the question, but to really put her mind at ease, a marriage certificate is the most concrete proof. Tomorrow, I said. After dinner, Ava drove me home. On the way, I was still marveling at the odds. In a city this huge, what are the chances we'd run into each other on a random street corner? It means we were meant to find each other, she said with a smile. I couldn't agree more. Our destiny started when we were 7. During the drive, my phone buzzed incessantly. Ever since I'd sent Chloe that breakup text during dinner, she'd been calling me nonstop. When I didn't answer, she just kept trying. Ava glanced at the vibrating phone on the console, her eyes asking the question. I picked it up, blocked Chloe's number, and then turned the phone off completely. The past is the past, I said. People and things that belong there won't affect my future. For the rest of the ride, Ava seemed to be in a great mood, even humming a little tune. The next morning, I had just gotten out of bed when my phone rang. It was Ava. Let's go. Time to get married. I opened my front door to find her standing there, waiting for me with a bright smile. I had to laugh. It's only 6:30. City Hall doesn't open until 8. Breakfast first, then? She asked, winking. After breakfast, we arrived at City Hall at 7:50 a.m. We didn't have to wait long. As the first couple of the day, the whole process was quick and smooth. By the time we walked out with our marriage certificate in hand, it wasn't even 9. Ava came with me to the hospital. Grandma, do you remember her? Jet? Ava Chun, from our old village, the little kid. I explained, sitting by her bed. Grandma's eyes, cloudy with age, searched her memory for a moment before lighting up. Oh, I remember. Leo's deskmate. You came over for dinner once with Leo. And after you ate, you insisted on washing the dishes and cleaned the whole house. You even wiped down the windows. Ava blushed slightly. Your memory is amazing, Grandma. I remember you went to Hong Kong with your uncle. He must be doing well. That car he drove back to the village, they said it was worth over $100,000. Has he been good to you? Yes, Uncle has been very good to me. Grandma smiled. That's good. That's good. Grandma. I began, choosing my words carefully. There's something I've been keeping from you. The truth is, the girlfriend I've been dating all these years. It was Ava. Because she was living in Hong Kong and was so busy with work, she never had the time to visit. Please don't be upset with her, okay? Leo's girlfriend was you. Grandma's face lit up with pure joy as she looked at Ava. Oh, this is wonderful. Truly wonderful. Childhood sweethearts. You know each other inside and out. Now I can truly rest easy. And Grandma, I said, pulling out the certificate. Ava and I got our license today. We're married. Grandma's hands trembled as she took the certificate, her eyes poring over it for a long time. She wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. Married. My Leo is married. That's so good, so good. Grandma, we were in a rush, so we didn't have time for a big wedding, Ava promised. But we will definitely have a huge celebration. The license is enough, Grandma said, taking both of our hands and placing them together. As for the wedding, you two can plan it however you like. Don't be too extravagant. Her voice was soft but firm as she gave us her final blessing. Now that you're married, you have to be real adults, take on the responsibilities of a family. Work together, build your little home, talk things out, don't fight. Just live a good, honest life. She went on for a while, a stream of gentle advice, and Ava and I just nodded along. You could see it in her eyes. She was genuinely, blissfully happy. At lunch, she even ate a second bowl of soup. That afternoon, I went to Sterling Industries. Mr. Morgan, aren't you on vacation? What brings you to the office? My former assistant asked. I'm here to process my resignation. Her jaw dropped and stayed that way. For a position at my level, resignation required the CEO's signature. I stood outside Chloe's office and knocked. Come in. When she saw it was me, Chloe, sitting behind her massive desk, looked surprised for a second. But she quickly regained her composure, her eyes full of mockery. Well, look who's back. And here I thought you had some pride. Before I could speak, she continued. I'll let it slide this time. We'll just say you were having a jealous fit. But don't let it happen again. Ms. Sterling, she rounded the desk and stood before me, looking down at me. Ms. Sterling? Still sulking, are we? She let out a small, condescending laugh. Quite the temper. You even dared to block me. Chloe. Ryan burst into the room. I heard Leo was here. He looked at me, his tone overly friendly. Leo, you're finally back. Everyone says you're the backbone of the design department. And they're right. Since you've been gone, I've been completely swamped, running around like crazy. I can't even focus enough to sketch. Don't sell yourself short, Chloe interjected. You're new to the company, you're still learning the ropes. And you just come back from abroad? You're not familiar with the domestic market yet. You just need a little more time. Ryan shook his head with a charming smile. You're the only one who's so forgiving with me. Of course, Chloe said, her tone serious. Only I know how talented you really are. She turned her attention back to me. Anyway, Leo, your timing is perfect. The client wasn't happy with that design Ryan submitted. I need you to revise it. Get it back to him before the end of the day. Sorry about this, Leo, Ryan said softly. Hate to trouble you again. Is everything at home settled? Are you ready to come back to work? I have to say, you've taken quite a bit of time off, Chloe added with a frown. You're lucky I'm your boss. No one else would let you take this much time off for no good reason. Are you both finished? I asked, looking at the two of them and their perfectly rehearsed performance. First of all, in my 5 years at this company, I have never taken a single day of my accrued vacation. I have a total of 20 paid days off saved up. On this leave, I have only used 6. I still have 14 days remaining. I am on legitimate, approved leave, and I have not violated any company policy. Second, I am here today to resign. The look of casual amusement vanished from Chloe's face, replaced by a deep-seated impatience. Leo, there's a limit to these tantrums. I'm not having a tantrum. I'm resigning, I stated calmly. And for the record, the breakup was serious, too. Ryan chimed in with his gentle, patronizing voice. Leo, couples can have arguments and disagreements, but you shouldn't throw the word breakup around so lightly. It's very hurtful. That's why I didn't say it lightly, I replied. The lines on Chloe's forehead deepened, a clear sign of her rising fury. I'm giving you one last chance. Take back what you just said. I don't need it. Fine, fine. She nodded repeatedly. Leo, you really think I can't bear to lose you, don't you? You really think this company can't function without you? I've never thought that, I said, speaking the honest truth. Good. Break up, resign, whatever. She spun around, snatched a pen from her desk, and scrawled her signature across my resignation form with a furious flourish. And you don't need to stay for another month. You can clear out your desk today. The company will pay you whatever severance it owes you, down to the last penny. I nodded. That's even better. With that, I turned and walked out of the office. As I reached the door, I heard the sound of something heavy crashing to the floor behind me. Standing on the sidewalk outside the Sterling Industries tower, I looked back up at the gleaming glass and steel and felt a genuine smile spread across my face. My lost youth the love I had chased for so long, and the career where I had poured my sweat and passion, they were all behind me now. I had no regrets about the past. In my studies, my relationships, and my work, I had given everything I had. Looking back, my conscience was clear. Academically, I had fought my way into the university and major of my dreams. I was satisfied. Professionally, though I was leaving, the years of work had honed my skills and capabilities. I could feel my own growth, not just in my professional expertise, but in my ability to navigate complex situations. Romantically, I had been brave enough to confess my feelings, and had even dated the person I had admired from afar for so long. In the relationship, I had striven to be a good, even exceptional, boyfriend. I cared for her life and work. I was empathetic. I provided emotional support. As a boyfriend, I felt I had done everything within my power. But the relationship still failed. I had tried, and I had discovered that this person and this relationship were not right for me. So it was time to end it. I had done my best, so I had no regrets. I would collect myself, say a dignified farewell to the past, and from this day forward, I would stride confidently into the next chapter of my life. Forgetting Chloe completely probably wouldn't be easy, but I had patience. I would erase her from my heart, piece by piece. The process might take a while. After all, she had taken up residence there a long time ago. I met Chloe in middle school. I had just transferred from a small town to the big city. During English class, when I answered a question, my thick Midwestern accent sent the entire class into a fit of laughter. After class, a few kids were still mimicking my pronunciation, making snide remarks. Chloe, who sat behind me, threw the book she was holding. It skimmed past the forehead of the boy who was mocking me. "You've had 6 more years of proper English lessons than him, and you still sound like an idiot. Does that make you feel superior?" Chloe's voice was ice. The boy who had been laughing at me immediately fell silent. Chloe must have had some serious pull in our class, because after that, no one ever made fun of my accent to my face again. That single act of defense made me start paying quiet attention to the girl sitting behind me. The more I watched, the more I fell. For me, at that age, Chloe was in a league of her own. She was stunningly beautiful and the tallest person in our class. Her grades were always at the top of our year, making her a favorite among the teachers. I'd heard other students whispering that her family was incredibly wealthy, that her sneakers were limited edition collector's items. Most importantly, she had defended me in front of the whole class, preserving my dignity. For a boy on the cusp of adolescence, a girl like that was fatally attractive. I knew I was out of her league, so I carefully hid my crush. The academic standards of a small town couldn't compare to the city's. My grades, which I had once been proud of, had plummeted to the middle of the pack. To get my name on the ranking list closer to hers, I studied like a man possessed. My hard work paid off, and my grades began to climb rapidly until my name was less than 10 spots away from hers. On the high school entrance exams, I performed better than I ever had, scoring 5th in the entire school. She was 1st. That was the closest my name ever got to hers. We ended up in the same high school, and by some stroke of luck, in the same homeroom. After the midterm exams, the seating chart was rearranged. To my utter delight, we became desk mates. One morning during English reading period, I was reading a passage aloud. She leaned over and whispered with a small smile, "Your accent is perfect now." In that moment, I remained outwardly calm, but inside, a flower had burst in a spectacular bloom. I couldn't describe the thrill I felt. She remembered me. She remembered my accent. As desk mates, we started talking occasionally, and I learned more about her. I learned that after the second period every morning, she would go to the cafeteria to buy a strawberry yogurt and take it upstairs to the sophomore hall to her brother in Class 10B. His name was Ryan, and he was a year older than her. They weren't related by blood. Ryan was her stepmother's son from a previous marriage. Chloe didn't seem to have any animosity towards her stepmother. Her own mother had passed away when she was 5, and her father, not wanting her to be mistreated by a new wife, had refused to remarry for years. In her first year of middle school, he was introduced to Ryan's mother, and they eventually married. Chloe, who had lost her mother at a young age, found a long-lost maternal affection in Ryan's mom. So, she treated her stepmother with a great deal of respect, and she doted on her stepbrother, Ryan, protecting him fiercely. I pieced all of this together from the fragments of conversation she let slip. It was then that I learned the real reason she had defended me back in middle school. Ryan had also transferred from a small town and had been mercilessly mocked for his own accent. Chloe had found him crying in his room about it. So, when she saw me being subjected to the same ridicule, she saw her brother, and her anger had boiled over, compelling her to act. Learning this stung for a little while, but I got over it quickly. I was already in too deep. Loving her had become a habit I couldn't break. I had long since learned from Chloe which university she wanted to attend. That school became my singular goal. By some miracle, I got in. In college, we didn't interact much. I just watched her from a distance. The turning point came at a party for students from our hometown. That night, she drank way too much. She was crying, sobbing that she could probably never be with the person she loved. From a name she kept murmuring over and over, I learned that the person she loved was her stepbrother, Ryan. I also learned that Ryan, to escape their complicated relationship, had left for Europe a few days earlier. On the walk back to her dorm, she cried the whole way. Her choked voice was thick with sorrow. Why did he have to leave? I could have just not bothered him. As long as he was still here, couldn't I just watch you from a distance? Every day you're gone, I'm thinking of you. Seeing her like that broke my heart, but there was nothing I could do. The day after I took her back to her dorm, Chloe was waiting for me outside my building. Leo, she said, do you want to try dating me? In that instant, it felt like a firework had exploded right above my head. I couldn't stop myself from nodding furiously. During college, our relationship was simple and sweet. Like so many other couples, she would wait for me outside my dorm every morning with breakfast. We'd hold hands and wander around campus. When she didn't have class, she'd come with me to mine, playing with my fingers under the desk. On Valentine's Day, she'd plan elaborate surprises. The expensive phone I'd left lingering in my Amazon cart, she secretly bought for me as a birthday gift. After graduation, she said to me, come work at Sterling Industries. I want to be able to see you every day at work. It was only years later that I learned the truth. The reason she had asked me out back then was because Ryan had told her, I have a girlfriend now, Chloe. You should go out and date someone too. Because I had just taken her home drunk the night before, and because we were old classmates, she had chosen me as her target without much thought. When I found out, I was angry for a long time. Chloe apologized profusely, doing everything she could to win me back. I eventually caved, and we reconciled. The past few years of our relationship had been real to me. The sweet memories weren't fake. I couldn't let go. If Ryan had never come back, I might have continued to live in my fantasy world, believing that Chloe now loved me. But the moment he reappeared, the bubble burst, and I was forced to face reality. Chloe had never gotten over him, and she had never, not once, truly loved me. She brought Ryan into the company, publicly acknowledged him as a member of the family, and promoted him. She created a new director-level position for him in the design department, making him my equal. When a client rejected his design proposal, she asked me to fix it. She called it a revision, but it was a complete redesign from scratch. But when the project was completed, the credit and the name on the final submission was Ryan's. Seeing the undisguised adoration in Chloe's eyes when she looked at Ryan, I finally understood why she refused to get married. When our relationship was at its peak in college, Chloe once told me she was against marriage on principle and asked if I could accept that. I said I could. I was young then, and marriage felt like a distant concept, not something to worry about in the present. I figured that after a few years together, she might change her mind. Now I finally understood. Her so-called anti-marriage stance was just a way to keep her options open. What if, one day, the possibility of being with Ryan became real? The hope was slim, but it was there, and in that case, her unmarried status would be the greatest offering she could present to him. After leaving Sterling Industries, I went back to the hospital to be with Grandma. Her spirits seemed much higher than before. She chatted with me enthusiastically, dropping Ava's name into the conversation every few minutes. It was always our Ava, a clear sign of how thoroughly this new granddaughter-in-law had won her over. That evening, Ava came to the hospital after work. The moment Grandma saw her, her face lit up with a huge smile. Ava sat by the bedside, patiently chatting with her, reminiscing about the old days in their small town, telling stories that were familiar and comforting to Grandma. She also mentioned that she had bought a house and a car here, describing how big the house was and how nice the car was, as if to prove she could provide a stable life for me. Grandma, however, was more concerned. You've built all this at such a young age. It must have been so much work. Don't push yourself so hard. Our Leo is a good boy. He bought his own little condo. You two have enough. Don't work yourselves into the ground. Your health is what's most important. And, she added, I've saved up a little money. I gave the passbook to Leo. It's all for you too. Ava gave her a thumbs up. Grandma, you saved up money? That's incredible. When my dad arrived to take over, Grandma shooed us out, telling us to go get some dinner. While we were eating, I told Ava that I'd quit my job. So, what are your plans now? She asked. I thought for a moment. I think I'll just be a freelance illustrator from home. I don't really want to look for another corporate job. I showed her my social media accounts. She was surprised. You have this many followers? Yeah, They've built up over the years, I said. I started posting my drawings back in college, and I guess a lot of people like them. She nodded. With a following this size, you can definitely make a living as a freelancer. Then she asked, by the way, what did you tell your parents about us getting married? The same thing I told my grandma. I explained. They knew I'd been in a relationship for a few years, but they'd never met my girlfriend. So I just told them it was you all along. That since you were based in Hong Kong, we could never find the right time for you to meet them. And they didn't tear me apart for just running off and getting a marriage license with their son. Why would they? They know we did it to give Grandma peace of mind. In fact, they kept saying how amazing you are, that you were willing to make such a big sacrifice just to fulfill my grandma's last wish. As I was speaking, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, and Chloe's voice came through, demanding and entitled. Where did you buy that stomach medicine you used to get for me? I hung up immediately and sent a text to her assistant with the address of the pharmacy. The phone rang again. Another unknown number. Exasperated, I was about to turn it off. Wait, Ava said with a slight smile. I have an idea. A way to make her stop harassing you. Oh, what is it? Go public, she said, her voice calm and steady. 2 minutes later, I updated my Instagram. A single photo of a marriage certificate with the caption, married. The comment section immediately exploded with question marks. That night, when I got back to my apartment, I found a tall, slender figure leaning against the wall by my door. What's with the picture? Chloe asked, her face a blank mask. It's pretty self-explanatory, I said. I got married. Jokes have a limit, she said, a flicker of impatience crossing her brow. I told you very clearly. The doctor said my grandma only has a few days left. I don't want her to have any regrets, which is why I was in a hurry to get married. I explained, trying to keep my voice even. Chloe looked down, her face hidden in the shadows, her expression unreadable. After a long moment, she spoke, her voice trembling almost imperceptibly. So, the marriage is fake? The certificate is fake. I slowly shook my head. No, it's all real. We went to City Hall this morning and got the license. Chloe lunged forward and grabbed my arm, her voice a low growl. Leo, you just married a random person? Don't you know you can't trust people? What if she latches onto you, tries to extort you for money? An image of Ava's gentle face, the soft way she spoke, flashed in my mind, and the corners of my mouth turned up in a slight smile. She's not a random person. She's a friend I've known since I was a kid. She's a good person, I said with absolute certainty. Fine. You've really outdone yourself, she said, nodding sharply. She turned on her heel and strode away. A few days later, Grandma passed away. The doctor comforted us, saying that her last few days had been peaceful and happy, that she had passed with a serene look on her face, and that we shouldn't be too sad. Ava was a rock through all of it, helping with the funeral arrangements, running errands, being there for my parents. My mom pulled me aside more than once, whispering, Ava is a real gem. She must be exhausted. You chose the right one, Leo. To my surprise, Chloe showed up at the funeral. Who's that? My parents asked, looking confused. My old boss. I explained awkwardly. Well, that's awfully nice of her, my mom said. You don't even work there anymore. And she still came to pay her respects. After offering her condolences, Chloe came over to me and spoke in a low voice. Can we talk? I'm busy, I replied. I don't have time. I'll wait. By the time the last of the guests had left, it was already dark. When I walked outside, Chloe was still there, standing by the curb. I walked up to her. What is it? The night wind stirred the loose strands of hair around her face. She looked unusually fragile, her expression tinged with sorrow. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were telling the truth about your grandma. I thought you were just making up an excuse to force you into marriage. I finished for her with a small, humorless laugh. It doesn't matter. It's all in the past. Leo, these past few weeks without you, I haven't been myself, Chloe said, her voice filled with a quiet desolation. Work life. Everything feels meaningless. I can't find the energy to do anything. I've been thinking a lot, and I've realized it's because I can't live without you. I finally know what this feeling is. It's missing someone. It's my fault for being so slow, so arrogant. I never realized how much I loved you. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. She opened it and held it up to me. Inside, a diamond ring glittered under the streetlight. Leo, she said, her voice pleading, marry me. I found the whole situation absurd. Chloe, I'm already married. Then divorce her. Come back to me. Weren't you the one who didn't believe in marriage? No, for you. I'll break all my principles, change all my beliefs. You want to get married? We'll get married. I'll give you the grandest wedding. I'll announce to the whole world that you are my husband. I shook my head. There's no need. I don't want to marry you anymore. Besides, today is my grandmother's funeral. This is not the time or place for this. Leo, Chloe grabbed my sleeve, her grip desperate. I can give you the best life imaginable. That woman, your so-called childhood friend, what can she give you? How my husband and I live our lives is really none of your business, Miss. Sterling. Ava's voice came from behind me, clear and strong. She walked up and stood by my side. Who are you? Chloe asked, her eyes flashing with anger. The person who signed that certificate with Leo? Yes, Ava said coolly. I am Leo's legal wife. The person who will take care of him for the rest of his life. You? Chloe sneered, a vein throbbing at her temple. How are you going to take care of him? What kind of life can you possibly provide? We may not have the deep pockets of Sterling Industries, Ava said with a faint smile, but FlightPath AI is a pretty well-known name in our industry. I think, short of asking for the moon and the stars, I can probably satisfy any of Leo's requests. FlightPath AI? Chloe's brow furrowed in thought. You're Ava Chun, the CEO of FlightPath AI? The one and only, Ava confirmed. Now, I'd appreciate it if you would stay away from my husband. He doesn't want to see you. Chloe looked at me, her face a mask of wounded disbelief. Yeah, I said, deliberately leaning my head against Ava's shoulder. What my wife said. Chloe let out a desolate laugh, then turned and walked away, looking utterly lost. When she was gone, Ava turned to me, her voice playful. So how'd I do? I just stood there, looking down at her. After a few moments of my silent scrutiny, she started to squirm. Say something. You're making me nervous. Explain FlightPath AI, I said quietly. It wasn't just vanity. The name was too specific. I'd heard of FlightPath AI before. It was a rising star in the tech world, a powerhouse in artificial intelligence, considered a leader in the domestic market. This was the small startup Ava had mentioned. Ava looked down at her feet, her gaze full of guilt, unable to meet my eyes. Her voice was a tiny mumble. Well, you never asked what my company was called, so I never mentioned it. And I pressed. And the name, it does come from the two of us. As I recall, I said FlightPath was founded as a small studio several years ago, and it was called that even then. We hadn't seen each other in years at that point. Ava suddenly lifted her head, her expression a mixture of defiance and surrender. It's true. I've always loved you. From the time I left for Hong Kong, you were burned into my memory. I decided back then that when I grew up, I would come back and find you. All right, I said, stepping closer and gently tilting her chin up with my fingers. What else have you been hiding from me? Her face instantly flushed a deep, beautiful red. From Ava, I learned the whole story. She had never forgotten me. As she grew older, the memory of me only deepened, becoming a constant, aching presence in her life. It evolved from a childhood crush into a profound, unwavering love. Before she went to college in the States, she had begged her uncle to let her take a trip back to our hometown. She went back to the small town, but my grandma no longer lived there. The neighbors told her grandma had moved to the city to live with us, but no one knew our new address. She only had 3 days, and she returned to Hong Kong empty-handed. While she was in graduate school in America, she started her own workshop and named it FlightPath, a nod to me and her nickname, Jet. Between her studies and her work, she was incredibly busy. By the time she finally had the freedom to come back, she managed to track down my address. She found me, but she also found that I was in a relationship. I already had a partner by my side, and the way I looked at Chloe was full of affection. She returned to the U.S., heartbroken, and resolved to forget me. But she tried for years, and instead of fading, the feelings only grew stronger. When the time was right, she decided to move FlightPath's headquarters to the mainland, setting it up in the very city where I lived. She said she never intended to interfere in my life. She just wanted to be able to see me from a distance. Whenever she had a free moment, she would drive her car and park it across the street from my office building just to watch me and my girlfriend leave together. As long as I looked happy, she would drive away content. But recently, she had noticed that I was looking more and more unhappy. I was leaving the building alone every evening, Chloe no longer by my side. Instead, she often saw Chloe leaving with another man, laughing and eating with him, looking at him with that same gentle expression. That night, when she saw me huddled on the sidewalk, my hair and clothes soaked by the rain, crying, she couldn't stand it anymore. She ran, holding her umbrella over my head. After hearing her story, I was stunned into silence for a long time. Then, I covered my eyes and cried. To think that all this time, when I had no idea, someone had been loving me so silently, so completely. This immense, overwhelming devotion. I didn't know if I was worthy of it. I told her my thoughts, my hesitation. Ava gently wiped the tears from my eyes with her thumb. You are worthy, she said softly. My Leo is worthy of the best love in the world. Chloe tried to contact me many more times, but I avoided her. I had blocked all her numbers and social media. So she started writing me emails. I only discovered them by chance one day when I opened my inbox and found a long list of messages from her. It was a bit surreal. Was she using my email as a personal diary? In her emails, she said she had finally realized her feelings for Ryan were all wrong. It was never love, it was dependence. As a child starved for maternal affection, she had latched on her kind stepmother, and by extension, the brother her stepmother brought into her life. It was the first time a woman in her life had cared if she was eating well, if she was warm, who worried when she was sick. The feeling was new and addictive, and she had become lost in it. That's why she felt such a strange attachment to Ryan. And because they weren't related by blood, she had mistaken that attachment for romantic love. But my departure had caused her sleepless nights, a wrenching pain in her chest, and a constant, simmering anger, emotions she had never experienced before. It was only then that she realized how much I truly meant to her. The day I posted the marriage certificate, she wrote, it took every ounce of her self-control not to drive over, drag me away, and lock me up somewhere. That day, when I rejected your proposal, was the biggest regret of my life, she wrote in one email. One wrong step, and I lost everything. She mentioned that her father and stepmother had recently divorced. Legally, she and Ryan were no longer related in any way. Ryan had been ecstatic, telling her they could finally be together openly. But Chloe said she felt no excitement, only a strong sense of resistance. She didn't want to be with Ryan. Leo, this is the last email I'll send you, the final one read. I won't bother you anymore. I've agreed to a strategic marriage for my father's company. I have a meeting with the son of the Miller Group tomorrow. Let me think of you one last time. Goodbye. And I'm sorry. After reading the emails, I calmly dragged them all to the trash. Later, I heard that something had happened to Chloe. She had started seeing the Miller heir, and they were beginning to plan their engagement. One evening, after they had dinner at a restaurant, Ryan suddenly appeared. In a jealous rage, he tried to push Mr. Miller down a flight of stairs. Chloe threw herself in front of him. She was the one who fell. Her injuries were severe. They said that without perfect care, she might be left with a permanent disability. But Mr. Miller was incredibly moved by her sacrifice and became utterly devoted to her, declaring he would marry her no matter what. Ryan was arrested and sent to prison. Later, I stumbled across a video of the incident online, probably filmed by a bystander. Ryan's face was contorted with madness as he screamed at Chloe, "You love me, I know you do. Why won't you be with me? Why are you marrying someone else? You flew across the world every year for my birthday. I told you I didn't want another man in this family, and you promised you'd never get married. You love me so much, you did so much for me. Why are you throwing me away now?" Then, crying, he lunged. The next thing you heard was Chloe's scream as she tumbled down the stairs. I closed the video, a strange feeling in my gut. Can love really make people go crazy? I wonder aloud. It can, Ava said, coming up behind me and wrapping her arms around my shoulders. It's a good thing you're with me. Otherwise, I might have been driven mad by longing for you one day. I frowned. Are you really that extreme? Don't worry, she said. If I went crazy, I wouldn't hurt anyone else. I'd only hurt myself. You can't do that, I said, cupping her face in my hands. You're not allowed to hurt yourself. Because, I whispered, it would break my heart.